Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician. I've got something interesting to show you. Got a deck of cards. You can shuffle up till you're happy. Make sure that everything is mixed the way you want it to be. And what we're going to do is very, very simple. I want you to just take any card at all. Not necessarily that one, but go ahead and take any card. You take that one right there, and I know what it is. I know that it is the Seven of Spades. Okay, so this is the classic force. The classic force. And you're saying, now wait a minute, Carl. How can you demonstrate this when you're all alone? Because we know how the classic force works. This is force number 1 in Annemann's 202 Methods of Forcing. I said that we would do this. We would look at various types of forces, and you would wonder, why look at that one? There's a lot of pretty weird ideas in there. Why would you bother spending time on that one? Well, the reason why we'll go with this one first is because it's a pretty weird idea. It's really a pretty weird idea. The classic force is one of these things that's based on timing and influence. Magicians often have an aversion to it because of that, right? Here's really why I think magicians don't like the classic force, and why I particularly don't use it either, at least not in that way. We'll get to how I do use it in a moment. This is how I view the classic force, and you can put in the comments if this resonates with you. I am a magician. I am William the Wonderful. That's my stage name. Okay, William the Wonderful. I'm William, and I'm talking with other great magicians, right? And we're talking about forcing information, particularly playing cards, and we're having this discussion. And finally, I get my say in this conversation, and William the Wonderful, I say, well, you know, fellas, because magicians are always men. You know, fellas, I just used the classic force. Right? That's why people hate the classic force. Because it's ruined, okay, by people like that. We always hear this, right? We hear this all the time. We hear that people use the classic force. That's the only one they use, okay? And it's what it is it's a sort of badge of honor thing. What it says is that if I use the classic force and it's the only one that I use, it must mean that I'm really good. Because we know that it depends on influence and timing. We know that these are the elements that make the force work out. So if someone's using that and they use it regularly and that's their claim, it's kind of like Jason Ledany, if you ever follow him on Instagram. He has a running joke that he uses with people about how magicians on social media talk about shows, doing shows. You know, magician will come on their Instagram or their YouTube, and they'll say something to the effect of, "Great to see you guys. I've got a few minutes before the show tonight," right? And what he's saying is they're always trying to indicate that they are working magicians and they're busy and they're always working, you know, grinding it out and doing the life, right? It's one of those kinds of things. I always use the classic force. Okay. So you're going to classic force this on someone, right? That's what this is. It's a badge of honor. Okay. Now, here is the realistic version of the classic force. Okay, and you hear, I think, more down-to-earth people will talk about it in this way. They will often say that they'll go through with the classic force, and if they have a situation where it doesn't hit, they have alternatives already planned out. They already know what to do. We'll talk about one here in a minute if you really want to try this. And then I'm going to give you my way to do the classic force, which I get from someone a long time ago. Okay, it's a long-standing method of classic forcing that works absolutely every time. You don't ever have to do anything different with it. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. This is what can be done. They don't hit, okay, and then I have an alternative. One alternative is, this is the force card here. They go for somewhere down here. One alternative is to do a different trick. I abandon what I'm doing, I let them pick a card freely, and then I do something else with the free selection. I don't like that idea because as the common magician, I'm only ever doing like one trick at a time, and I kind of want to do the one that I prepared. Okay, so if that doesn't work, I will do something different. I will do something different to get them to the card that I want, but I'm not going to change the trick. Okay, you can change the trick if you want. If I have to change the outcome, I only want to do that when that is the method, when there's multiple outs and that's part of the methodology. This door gets shut, so I take the other one. Okay, I like multiple out methods, but I don't want to make a trick a multiple out by way of changing the trick. Okay, so let's say this is my force card right here, and instead they go for one down here. Immediately after they grab it, this is just one idea, immediately after they grab it, I will cut the deck at the force card, putting the force card on the top. They take it out. They have their card in possession, and immediately I'll spread it. They've only gotten it this far away. I'll say, go ahead and slide it back in anywhere that you want. They slide it back in, and now I'm ready for a Bill Simon prophecy move. Why not? Okay, so I've got the force card now sitting on top. They took a card out I didn't want. I cut it to the top, give a quick spread. I say, place it back in anywhere you want. And then what you can do is you can close this up, and you break at that card, say, let me flip this so we can see more clearly, right? I close it up, I say, let's flip it so we can see more clearly. Prophecy move, I cut the top force card on top of the card, flip it underneath. Now I'm set up where my their selection, the indifferent card that doesn't matter, is now sitting on top of my forced selection, the one that I wanted them to take. Okay, so you can very quickly pivot and use a different kind of force to force the location. There's a lot of alternatives, right, to that. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of different strategies you can use to do that. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes of what I really want to talk with you about. This is the Al-Quran classic force that never fails. The Al-Quran classic force that never fails. Starts the same way. Okay, you have Annemann's classic force where cards are shuffled. Annemann starts with this. The assumption in Annemann's account is that the spectators are shuffling the card. By the way, if this is already happening, you already don't need to do a classic force because you have a justification. If I took the cards out of the deck, out of the box, and I said, and I had someone pick a card, and I wanted to do it this way, and I wanted to force it, I absolutely better be doing a classic force, because doing anything else is highly suspicious when the cards haven't been mixed. But if they have mixed the cards, I don't need to do the classic force. They're mixed. I haven't looked at them. There's no way I know what it is. I reach out, I take the cards because I got to see what I'm picking up in my hands. I take the cards in my hand. I quickly grab the glimpse. I'm justified in looking at what I'm taking. I immediately look away, and I shuffle this to the top. I'm still in the Annemann classic force. I'm still doing it his way. Okay, this is the natural setup. I know my force card is going to be 10 of diamonds. I cut it to the center. I might cut a couple of packets on to kind of muddle this up. Again, I'm not looking at it. I'm justified. I haven't looked at the cards. They shuffled. I haven't looked at. There's no way I could know what's in there, right? This is the Al-Quran classic force. Right here, it changes. I take the cards at the break. I pick up halfway, and I say, take a card. That's it. Why does this work? They shuffled. I don't know where they're at. Take a card. I'm completely clean. There is nothing suspicious about this at all, right? Nothing whatsoever. That's why you can do it. If you're using the presumed setup for a classic force that I'm getting a peek on a card and then using it in that kind of environment, I don't need to spread and do all that stuff. I can just give them a card anywhere from inside the deck. It's been shuffled up. I haven't looked at it. They mixed it, right? Now, this is Al-Quran's version. I'm going to give you the one-up kind of version, okay? So this is my preferred way to do this. They shuffle the cards, take the cards back, grab my glimpse. 6 of clubs is what it's going to be. I get it into the center, right? I have it in the center. I know where my card is at. And then what I do is rather than just give them the card, right, rather than just giving it out to them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top half and I'm going to spread out. And I'm going to say, everything's mixed up. I don't know where anything is at. Go ahead and take one. Okay, so what I'm doing in this moment is I'm flashing values. This is completely forgettable, but I can flash some values up there, and then I can take and I can give one out. What I'm doing is I'm showing a mix, and I'm reinforcing the fact that I don't know what's in here. Everything's in disarray. I'm not bumbling all over the place, but I'm showing values, right? and then I'm justified to separate and give them a card. This can be taken one step even further and push into the Danny Day Ortiz thought of card kind of realm. And that is, I take the cards back, I get it positioned, and then I go around and I say, you can see all the different values, right? And then I get to my force person, the one I want to force on. I break and I bring up the other half and I push out the one card. At this point, I say, you see a card? You see it in your head. You see a card? You see it in your head. You can see it there. Yes? Okay? Could be any card in the deck. You shuffled, everything is mixed up. Now I have a thought of card forced on someone using the Al-Quran classic force that never fails. Okay, so that's my take on it, and it is very useful in this, Day Ortiz kind of image force. Other options for this kind of force, you could do the same kind of thing, and if you reverse spread, let's say I've got it there, and I can transfer my break to my thumb, and then I can pick up, and as I go to spread the cards, if I reverse spread the cards like this, you'll notice that as you're looking, there's no indices except for this one, right? I spread, the only place where you see an index is on the face card. I've got my break over here, and I can actually force this image. If I break where I want to, I can show them only one value that they can see. Now they can see pips. They can see, the icons and pips and whatever that are on the cards, but the only value they get to see is the one where I break at when I'm doing the reverse spread. I don't even really have to get into it in that way. I could have them shuffle, take the cards back. I know the top card, and I can quickly just drop this to the bottom as I spread. I can do the poor man's, so I got the glimpse of this, and I put my King of Spades on the top. I can do the kind of poor man's underspread call force, where I separate it out, and then I spread a bunch on top of it. Then I hold it up, and I break at this point, right? And I can show that one card. Now, if they see all of the face of this one, and not really anything over there, I can force this on them without having to get it. There's a lot of options for forcing one card on people without giving them a choice, because the deck was shuffled by them first, and I shouldn't know where anything's at. Now, this does not work, again, if you have the deck coming out of the box. If it's mine, I have to do some kind of shuffle. I have to do some kind of shuffle procedure. How can I shuffle the cards if I need to maintain a small stack and I want to Al-Quran force it back out? Well, I could keep the stack on the top or somewhere else on the bottom. I can swing cut a small packet, which includes those cards, and then I can hand groups out to people and have different groups shuffle cards. You mix these up. I can keep these back, right? I can run them through or false shuffle them, and then I can add them back to the stack on top, and then I can cut it down to the middle, and then I can say, take a card. Or I can say, you take a card. Here's one for you. I always come back here and do this. A person that is known for doing this, and you can see it on live television from back in the day on video, Chan Canasta would use a cyclical stack, I think 8 Kings stack or Cy Stebbins. He would use, one of those kind of well-known ones, even at the time. And he would just do a cyclical cut shuffle. This is his overhand shuffle. He would talk, and as he's talking in a large room full of people, he would just do this. That's the extent of his shuffling. And then he would cut where he wants, or he would go in the middle, and he would say, take one. Here, you take one. Here, you take a group. Take about 3. He would just hand out what he wanted people to have, and then he would name them back to them as if it was mysterious and magical. Well, he knows the stack, and he's giving people what he wants them to have. This works extremely well, even on video like that. If someone who doesn't understand the conventions of magic, they go back and watch that performance, they're not going to understand what he did. So those are options for the classic force, ways that you can make it absolutely surefire for you, and even a couple of alternatives for when it doesn't quite hit. But you don't necessarily need to be afraid of the classic force, and you can also understand that people that say they use the classic force all the time, they don't necessarily have to make it hit the way it's described here. You can get around that, okay? You can make it work. Anyway, Annemann, number 1, classic force. Good luck with that. Happy magicking.